Hello again, this is Nathan from Snap Surveys, and today we're going to be looking at adding some survey logic to your questionnaire within the Snap Online editor. In the previous session we set up a short travel survey with 6 questions. In this next session we will be looking at adding some additional functionality to those questions. Starting off with routing, this will ensure that only the relevant questions are displayed to each respondent. This is known by many other names including piping, skip patterns and skip logic. We'll then look at adding some response validation. This is to ensure that only valid responses are given to your open-ended questions. And then finally adding some dynamic question and answer properties. This will ensure that as your respondents complete the questionnaire, they are only presented with the relevant set of answers. So let's take you straight into the software. We're going to again be using the travel survey. And we'll go straight into the Build tab. And if we look at question number 1, you can see we have 5 different answers available, including Other, and then the Please Specify just below that. So we're going to set it up so that if they tick Other, Please Specify pops up on screen. If they do not tick Other, it remains hidden. So if I click on question number 1, and down the left hand side we've got routing available. And we have 3 different types of routing available for us, but today I'm going to make use of Ask This Question If. And I can put the routing on question 1, so the actual tick box options, but today we're going to put it on question 1A, the Please Specify. And just because I have done this previously, it's actually remembered what I did there previously in my browser. So my routing today is going to be question 1 equals 5. So Please Specify will only pop up if they choose Other. And if I click OK. So routing ensures that you're only displaying the relevant questions to each person. If we then come down and look at question 2, asking people how much they spent getting here today, and it's a quantity response question. So if I come down to validation and masking, we can put some additional validation on there. And if I click in valid, we can specify that they can type any value between 0 to 500. So when they're completing the live questionnaire, if they type 501 or above, they will have an error message pop up. And we can take it a step further. This is a quantity response question where we're expecting a monetary value, so potentially someone might put a pound sign in there, a dollar sign, or a euro. So if I drop down the quantity response option, we have a number of different patterns available to us, one of which is currency UK, Europe and US. Today I'm actually going to choose currency, which will actually incorporate all 3 of those, which basically just means that when the respondent's completing the questionnaire, it really doesn't matter whether they put the currency symbol in there or not. Snap will accept it and give it a tidy up in the background. If we move back to question number 1, so the tick box question with 5 potential answers. For those of you that are doing perhaps face-to-face interviewing or telephone interviews, and to be honest, even for those that are just doing standard web-based surveys, occasionally you will find that lots and lots of people just choose the first option because it is indeed the first option, it's the first answer they see, and ultimately they're potentially it's the first thing they can remember or the quickest way of completing the questionnaire. So if I click on question number 1 and under validation and masking again, if I come down to the bottom, we have ordering, and I'm going to set that to random. So each of these options will be displayed in a completely different order every time the questionnaire is asked. Just being a little bit careful, we do have the word Other at the bottom, and really that needs to stay at the bottom. So we're only going to randomize the first 4 categories. Okay. And at this stage I'm going to take the opportunity to save. Okay, time to take it up a notch and add some additional functionality. Question 1 was asking how people travelled to the venue today. I'm going to have a follow-up question which says, of the reasons how you travelled today, which of them was your preferred option? So my first step will be to actually clone question number 1. So if I go to More, and copy, we have the option to effectively paste that question or a clone of that question wherever we want. So I'm actually going to pop it after question 2, so into the question 3 position, and you notice what was question 3 is now question 4. Okay, I'm just going to edit this text. I'll delete the entire text out. And which mode of transport was your preferred option? We no longer need the please specify, so I will click on more and hide the other response. And instead of my final answer being other, if I delete that text out, I'm going to take the text from the please specify and seed it into the answer text of question number 3. So if I come up to insert variable field, I can take question 1a, which is the please specify, and I'm also, just to make sure my survey looks clean and tidy, I'm going to set that to be title case. So it doesn't matter whether the person filling in the questionnaire types it in uppercase, lowercase, or a complete mixture in between. What gets inserted into the answer text for question 3 will have a capital first letter for every new word. And then my final step is just to ensure that whatever options they choose above are the only options they choose below, because we don't want someone saying that the car was their preferred option today when they didn't even travel by car. So again, sticking with question number 3, we have mask, and in there I'm going to type question number 1, which says whatever they choose for question 1 will be the available options for question 3. And at this stage I will do a final save. So we've added some additional functionality to the questionnaire. I've saved it, and my next job is to make those changes live. So if I go back to the Collect tab, you notice that I've got a warning here telling me that the version which I've just been playing with is different to the actual live version. So I will pause the interviewing for a couple of seconds, and then I will replace the current live version with the version I've just been editing. And then we can resume interviewing. Now, of course, today I just went ahead and published those changes. In the ideal world, I would have first launched a preview. You can see it gives me a warning to say it is just a preview. So this will not be actually saving the data. You can see my list is in a completely different order. Car used to be option number 1. If I choose car, bus and other, I'm going to say that I also walked, and just notice that I've typed all in lowercase. If I put my pound sign in and say 510, when I press next I get a warning message to tell me that that's an invalid number. So remember, I set it to a maximum of 500. If I then press next, you can see I'm presented with car, bus and walked. So my masking and my substitution of text has all worked. Also, I could go through and give some other responses. Remember, this is just a preview, so any responses I'm giving here, when I go ahead and press submit, although it will submit and take me through to the default thank you page, the actual data itself has not been recorded. So we've added some additional functionality and survey logic to the questionnaire to ensure that each respondent is guided through the survey. In the follow-up video to today, we will look at how to upload a list of participants to complete your questionnaire.